I'm upside down. What's going on?
Why are you upside down? One of the things that I wanted you to talk about that to me is really important in this, what I call still early stages of the movement, is how people should actually really be doing their own research and not relying on cult of personality leaders in the movement to do all the research for them, because I think that's pretty much. There's Antonio. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
How you doing, Mark?
Good, and you?
Pretty good. What happened?
I'm on a sort of half-broken laptop due to something last week, so I've got like quarter of a screen to play with.
Okay. So how we doing
I don't know how you can turn your own audio up higher on your own version there, but I have you on full blast, both of you, and to me it's not that loud, so I don't know how it's coming across out there.
You're coming clear.
But anyway, welcome, Antonio. We'll continue to wait for Ashley, but in the meantime, I was just asking Mark to kind of express how and why and the reason why each of us should be doing our own research, because if we just follow all of the personalities out there who are making YouTube videos and blogs and all that stuff, but we don't pursue our own experiments and research and talking about it amongst ourselves with other people in groups and forums and powwows, then we're going to end up right back where we started, and that is somebody's going to dictate what the flat Earth is and what it's about, and what the version of it is if it's not a spinning ball, and so on and so forth. So because Mark has done an extensive amount of research on his own, pretty much it seems, I wanted him to hit on that for however long, a few minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I know a couple of people who are doing research, but very much offline. They've had enough of the whole community, should we say, and they're squirreling away doing their own research and then coming back and presenting it, looking at feedback. It's very easy, especially people who've got sort of full-time jobs. You go home, you have your dinner, and you just want to see 3-minute clips, 4-minute clips, have a little chat. That's not going to get us anywhere. People need to sort of squirrel away and do their own research and then come back to the table with something. And the key is to be happy to be wrong, to be happy to be corrected, because some people are sort of standing there and their theories and their information is like a castle they want to defend. Because the bottom line is we were all wrong. We all believed in the Bull model, so we were all wrong. So we've all got to be happy to be corrected and to debate. Because some people feel, you know, the ego comes in and says, I've done a month's research, and people are attacking it. Well, maybe they're just correcting you. And people have to be happy to say, okay, I've done some research and I'm going to be corrected. And to be open to be corrected. Because as you say, we're in the very early stages of this sort of research.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's the only way you really are going to grow anyways. I mean, you can go out and get other people's opinions and stuff, but that's their opinions. Until you do it for yourself and start looking at the information yourself, that's when you really it really starts to sink in. I mean, that's how I mean, I was one of the ones that started just looking into this by accident. I didn't join any of the groups until I already had kind of an idea of what it was. And as I got into the groups, you know, like you said, just molding that theory and finding out what's what. I mean, you know, being corrected and just working, collaborating with everybody else. Hi, Ashley.
Hi.
Hi, Ashley.
Hi, Ashley.
Hi.
I'm invisible.
Yay!
When he first came on, he was upside down, and I'm not really sure why, because he's not in Australia or New Zealand, but so he had to take his camera off because it was drawn down too much width. So anyway, sorry, and welcome, and now we're all here. So I'm going to kick it off again and make this sort of the official beginning so that when we edit it for YouTube replay, it starts fresh. So welcome everyone to the first Google Hangout of the FlatEarthConspiracy.com group. And I'm Lori Frary, and everybody's going to introduce themselves so that you'll know who we are when you see us on the group and whatever, and put a face to a name, except for that vortexy thingy thing that Mark Knight is going to be. And so anyway, welcome. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for viewing this later as well. And I really just want to introduce this hangout that we're going to do every week from here on out, hopefully. And we will have different members who will be joining us and giving their perspective on what's happening in the Flat Earth movement. Some people have said that it's not a movement, but from everything I can tell, as someone who's been in the truth movement for 8 years, this is a pretty strong grassroots movement. Some people have said that it's a government CIA psyop to get confusion going among the truth communities. And if it was, thank you very much. We appreciate your introducing us to the Flat Earth. And we intend to take your ball and run with it and convert it to what we believe is the real approach to rediscovering our plane, not planet, and that I don't feel anything spinning, and I don't think you do either, and that it is time for us to rediscover our world, our Earth, and find out what it really is, because we now know it's not a spinning ball, and it's not traveling 1,000 miles an hour in a spin, and it's not flying through the universe chasing a sun. So we're all going to, over the next several weeks, explain what we believe is going on now and what's been going on in the past. So with that, I'm going to reintroduce Mark Knight and have him explain why we need to do our own research. There you go, Mark.
Hi. As you know, I run the site wakey.com, done a lot of articles in the past, I don't know, 8 months or so. But I believe people need to do their own research for a few reasons. And one is, in the past 10 years, people have followed people like Alex Jones and David Icke, and look where that got us. I mean, they're both pretty much shills, trying to send people the wrong way with some good information. And there's a danger of people following Pied Pipers in the Flat Earth movement. It's quite good that each of us go away and squirrel away and do our own research. I believe each person, to believe the Flat Earth, has to go through this sort of washing machine themselves, where they really don't know. They're on the fence for a while and their world's going a bit spinny. They're sort of like, oh my God, the ball Earth's starting to deflate. So everyone has to go through that sort of inner process themselves, or it doesn't really mean anything, or they're just reading stuff online and saying, hey, that's cool. You've got to do the research yourself, or you don't feel it. It doesn't mean anything. Now, I know some people doing some research on their own and they're not even online. And these are very clever guys. They just don't want to get involved. They just want to stay in the shadows. And that's something I'm doing. I'm doing my own research and coming back to the table with stuff. And as I said before Laurie started, you've got to sort of be happy to be corrected instead of coming back and trying to defend our research, like defending it like a castle. You've got to sort of let other people sort of say, hey, that's good work, but maybe that bit's wrong, maybe that's wrong, what about this? And we've got to collaborate and sort of kill the ego a little bit. Mm.
Absolutely. And the other thing that I think is vital to understanding about a true grassroots movement is that leaders rise up out of the movement. They don't start it. There is a theory out there called the theory of the first follower makes the leader. And you can actually Google that or find that on YouTube. It's a video documentary, short presentation about how the first follower chooses the leader and supports them, and that leader then is pretty much charged with making the movement move forward. The real situation here is that the people are naturally followers, because that's what we've been programmed to be, to follow cult of personality people in sports and music and Hollywood. And so we need to break the cult of personality follower mentality, follower culture, and start a leadership culture. We're all leaders. We're all evil. Nice. We're all equal. And so I want Antonio to talk about that, because he has a background in organizing and campaigns and getting people to move in a certain direction. So take it, Antonio.
Hello, my name is Antonio Diaz, and basically my background has been in the labor workforce. I came out of construction. I was involved in a labor movement here in Las Vegas back in the mid-90s called the Building Trades Organizing Project. I pertained to the roofing trade. And I came out of the residential area. I was never involved with unions or anything like that. I mean, everything I know is from family-based values and morals. You know, just the basics. When you stick together, you're more of a force than when you're by yourself. Basically, this is what this flat Earth is for everybody. It's for everybody. It's for the deniers. It's for every religion. It has no boundaries. I mean, we all live on this plane. We're all finding out that it's not what it is. And what I really see is an expansion of consciousness. As I've been researching and learning about this, I'm watching all of these people waking up. I was waking up just 3 years ago, and that was through the foods. Just trying to find cures and actually to cure my son's asthma. So one thing leads to another, and I wasn't looking for this. This came to me, and I like many people thought it was ridiculous, and except I wasn't like I see a lot of people who encounter the flat Earth right off the bat. It's like you're attacking their beliefs, and they attack you with hatred. I'm like, wow, there's more of that than people like just wondering, and so it's kind of been tarnished a little bit, but I think it's just how we behave and how we present it. There's the true issue is I think more than just a shape. There's this shape that has been created for the purpose of fencing us in. I think there's a lot more. There's a lot more. As I'm looking at these old maps, and I'm looking at these landfalls around the rim, that all of these posts back in the late 1800s, they all of a sudden disappeared. They're not there anymore. And it goes all around the south rim. You got post. So who knows? Who knows if there's other civilizations? Who knows if there's more resources, animals, plants? Who knows? I mean, we won't know until we keep spreading this and build the pressure on these governments that have this treaty that have us fenced in like bunch of chickens and animals and pigs. I mean, even if you drive on the highways all across the country here in the United States, if you're on any interstate, if you pull over to the side, you'll see a few feet down, there's a fence. On both sides, there's a fence. And these fences go through that fire. And they say it's to protect, preserve the wilderness or whatever. No, it's to keep us out. So I mean, these fences have been made, and there's mental fences, there's physical fences, and this is all about basically realizing who we are, where we live, and it's more of a, I believe it's more of a inner growth. It's more about a mind growing, you know. So there's a lot to it. Everybody has to do their own research. That's the bottom line, or else it's going to be a little more difficult to understand and wrap your mind around it.
Thanks, Antonio. Now I want to introduce Ashley, and Ashley and I have been working together as co-admins on the flatearthconspiracy.com Facebook groups, and behind the scenes on the www.flatearthconspiracy.com website. And Ashley's the one that is making all the really cool pictures of what the Earth looks like if it's a circle, and how all things fit into what we've known on a globe map, converted onto a flat Earth circular map. It's been pretty phenomenal, some of the things that she's come up with. So I want Ashley to talk about how to do your own research, how to brainstorm with people, how to listen to what other people are saying, and then let that information click inside your head and go, that's something I know about, that's something I have expertise on, so I'm going to try to show people the flat Earth from a different perspective. So take it away, Ashley.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to share with you guys, if whatever your strengths are, like if you have a strength of, like if you have a passion of digging into old research of, you know, like the Zedic astronomy to Earth Not a Globe books, ancient civilizations, see what their cosmology look like, all that can be done on Google mainly. Old books, you can find old books. And start looking in there. Even find other flat earthers on our page and that are local, meet up with them. You don't have to wait on anyone else. Do it yourself. And if you have an idea, like I wonder what the climate looks like if they're showing this on the news, on the weather, our climates, our low pressures, high pressures, whatever. Then start searching it out on what it would look like on the azimuthal map. I use a couple of apps on my phone to actually change the map. One is called Plantical, Plantical, and you put the picture in there of a world map, and it literally changes it for you. You have to adjust the setting, you know, you have to play with it a little bit, but you get what an azimuthal map would look like. So that's
explain for, just breaking in for a second, explain for those who don't know what azimuthal means. Explain what that is, Ashley, please.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
It's the flat Earth, the round map that we see, the flat Earth map. It's actually called an azimuthal equidistant map. It's what sailors used on ships and whatnot. There's several that are going around, floating around out there. You've probably seen them before, the round one with the Antarctica all the way around the edge and all the land mass, and you're looking like a bird's eye view down on all of the land mass. It's called the azimuthal map. Azimuth means like the top, like a zenith type view down. So anyway, you don't need to wait on us to search anything. If there's something that you want to look into, we encourage you to do it and just go for it. Go search it out. If it's weather, if it's mapping, if it's anything, just go search it out and be a leader yourself. You know, go find that out. We encourage you to do that and share with us. That's the exciting part, is we're all in this together and we're all learning together and sharing it together. I look at it as one big classroom when I'm looking for something, and it may be something obscure or little, and we post it, and it unlocks something huge for somebody else that somebody else didn't see, and then we all put it together, all the pieces, puzzle pieces together. So even if it's obscure or little, go ahead and share it and put it up there. There's not a silly question. There's not a stupid question, especially when we're all in this together, learning brand new information and looking at the sun, moon, stars, all different from a different perspective. I mean, if it's the moon, doing research like that and taking pictures from different continents and different hemiplanes, let's do that. Don't wait on us. Do it. Find other people. Get with your friends on your Facebook list. Find them if they live in Australia, Brazil, Peru, wherever, and say, hey, can you go outside and take a picture tonight of the moon? And I'll do the same, and then compare. So anyway, we just encourage you to do on your own and share, and just look at it as one big classroom, and we're all learning together. There's no one specific teacher that we're all waiting for the answers for. We all can go and find these answers and share together.
Awesome. Thanks, Ashley.
Mm-hmm.
Now I want to briefly have each one of us talk about some of the things that we're researching on our own. I want to start with Mark. I want you to talk about the most recent stuff you're excited about, and so that the rest of us, can sort of add that to our field of knowledge or whatever. But I know you've been looking into the moon and some other things. So talk about what you're working on right now, Mark.
Yeah, I'm looking at a few things at the moment. I've just finished a video on what I call the Dark Rift, which people know as Galactic Center or the Milky Way. It's like an hour-long video. I'm still looking at things on that. I've got a book 3/4 done. It's going to be 60-odd pages, all about the moon on a from a flat Earth perspective. I wanted to sort of ring fence the moon because it's a very complex beast, and I'm looking to whether it's transparent or not. I'm looking into if it's flat or not. I'm looking into if it's face down or not. I'm looking into whether it's possibly an old malfunctioning sun, which sounds pretty crazy when you first hear it, but there is some weight behind that, which I'm looking into. I'm also looking into Venus and Mercury because they have phases like the moon does, and I'm 100% sure the moon self-illuminates. So I'm looking at Venus and Mercury, why they have phases and what's going on with them, because Venus is obviously very small because it goes in front of the sun, and the sun's only 30-odd miles wide. So there's a whole new world opened up for me with the moon, the Venus and Mercury. I'm also looking at the eclipses. I'm ring fencing and separating out the solar eclipse and the lunar eclipse. I'm doing a very much sort of offline study of them. I'm not getting too far into other people's research. I've got a big basket of information, some stuff from my past, and I'm just jigsawing it all together. I should have a free ebook ready in 2 weeks' time or so. I'm also looking into what's going on at 100 kilometers up. I touched on this in my video, because at 100 kilometers up, the temperature changes from really cold to really hot. The elves, which are big plasma halos, don't go below 100 kilometers. The sprites below 100 kilometers don't go above 100 kilometers. The northern lights don't go below 100 kilometers. There's something going on at 100 kilometers up, and I don't know what it is. There's obviously some sort of density there, and I'm trying to piece that together. Also, it was in my video as well, I'm looking at the dome theory, the firmament theories, because the meteorites have to come from somewhere. I'm looking into where meteorites come from. Yeah, I've got a big basket, and it's kind of fun.
That sounds awesome. I'm looking forward to that, and I for one want to thank you ahead of time for releasing that information and that research free in an ebook, because one of the criteria I have always had of who are real truthers and who are wannabes and people who are trying to make money off of the truth movement and so on are the ones who always have books to sell, always have a big donate button right up at the top of their website, and so on. And so as far as I'm concerned, the world is free. The world should be free to everyone, and all information inside of the world and everything everybody comes up with. I really don't like copyrights and all that stuff very much. So I commend you for that. I just want to touch on something I'm working on. I'm working on the politics of flat Earth. I've had a long-term background in not only being interested in geopolitics, but politics all the way down to the local level. I have run for public office twice. Neither time was I elected, and because I really have just a little bit too much to say about just about everything. So, so having some background in history, I've also worked on political referendums and statewide, referendums and things like that. So knowing what I know and then understanding movements from a grassroots level and from an astroturf level, meaning astroturf is a movement that is created and then dictated by whoever is trying to make the movement go viral. Some astroturf movements are hijacked from a natural movement that comes up from the grassroots, and so one of the things that I'm looking at is if this is in fact something that that is actually coming from grassroots, which I believe that it is. I believe that it's been coming on for a very long time, and I believe the powers that be also know that because they collect metadata about everything. So they know how many times the words flat Earth are typed into Google every day. They know how many times flat Earth is written on Facebook. So they know where we're at, and they know we're coming for them. And so what I'm doing is I'm trying to come up with some coordinated efforts that we can do on the grassroots level. And some of those things are experiments around the country. I'm encouraging people to do, I don't know if this is going to catch on, but we're calling it Do Your 20. And Do Your 20 means go and try to find binoculars, telephoto lens, a telescope, borrow one, buy one and return it. I don't really care, but go and do an experiment for yourself where you can look out over 20 miles of flat Earth terrain, and whether you're able to videotape it, take a picture of it, or just put it in your head, prove it to yourself that there's no curvature in 20 miles. If you can see something 20 miles away with your own eye, then and or with the help of a telescope or a telephoto lens, then do it, document it. And then that will give you the sort of, I'm a cheerleader for flat Earth, because you now can convince yourself for sure that this is real and it's not some made-up movement. The other thing that that I want to work on is trying to get some volunteers. Every good campaign needs volunteers, and those of us who have sort of started the ball rolling have need of people who have expertises in other areas than what we have. And for example, I cannot do maths at all. Okay, I have a mathematical learning disability from birth. So I am required to use other devices, just like I use a hammer to drive a nail. I have to use other tools to do math for me. So when I approach something from a story problem perspective, like the train left the station at 4:52, and it's going to Amsterdam, and it's 400 miles away, and it's going 52 miles an hour. What time will it get there? Okay, that just blew the top of my head off. So I don't do experiments like that. Okay, the kind of experiments I do are the kind of experiments that require my use of my own expertise, my own tools, and also to gather together other people who have expertises in other areas that I don't have, and create our own version of an experiment or science or whatever. So that's what I'm working on, and I'm going to start making some posts in the Flat Earth conspiracy groups that will encourage people to send me their name and their expertise, and if they're willing to volunteer some time and some effort on some data collection and things like that. So, Antonio, tell me what you're working on.
I'm really working on just working with people. That's what I do, is listen to people, see what people have to bring to the table, try to find their strengths and qualities, and find common ground between us. I mean, this is whether they believe in flat Earth or not, whether they believe in central banking or not. You know, it's like whether they believe in the system or not. It's finding the strengths and finding what's going to bring us together. And pretty much what I see is like 90% of the people that I've dealt with know that the system is wrong, that we're far, far, far off track, that something has to go. I mean, we're all caught up. We're all caught up in this system that's been in effect for over 4,000 years. This pyramid structure is at its pinnacle. They're trying to lock it up. It's the globalization, you know. It's the new world order. That's basically what it comes down to. 500 years ago, they started this new world order with the ball, and they see the end of the line. They think that they're gonna get it, but I doubt it. I mean, they're predicting all of these prophecies or whatever, but it's a script. All it is. I mean, they have their plan, and it's all up to us if we want to play it along with their plan or do our own plan. And I believe that this awakening has created a panic on their side. I see that they're fear mongering and NASA, all these NASA articles coming out all out of nowhere within the last 2-3 months as this movement is growing. So they're feeling the pressure. They lost control, and now they're going to try to get it back. And we also have infiltrators. So I mean, you know, they're probably some of the ones that we trust the most. That we've followed their work, and they've done great work. But they're starting to reveal themselves. It's pretty obvious when you start seeing that it's because of this group or because of that group that this is happening. Hey, whether it's the Masons or Zion or whatever, and you know, we're all individuals. We all got to do our research. Whether they want control the world or not, are we going to let them? Are we going to let ourselves be controlled? Are we going to let ourselves be fooled? Are we going to buy into these little shenanigans of race war and cops killing? And that's all BS, man. It's just to get the emotional button going, so we can get hot and heavy and pull out our weapons and engage them, and that is what we cannot do. We cannot engage in a physical war. This is all a self-growing mental thing. Once we don't accept them, they lost all their power right there. That's the bottom line. And you know, we need to put that pressure so we can cut these fences and see if we got this other land or more resources, and who knows what's out there. But we just got to stick together, and we got to watch how we behave and watch not to feed into the hatred, you know.
Well, that's the bottom line. And I think what's vitally important here is that the movement is not defined, and just like Occupy was undefined at the beginning, when Occupy sprang up, whether it sprang up from the grassroots or whether it was, a psyop that was created, we all paid attention to how the media spun it out. And it didn't take very long before a bunch of people who were camped outside of Wall Street were all being told, oh, you're at the wrong place. You should be at Washington, D.C. You should be at the Capitol. And they're like, no, 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 we're at the right place. We're after the banksters. Well, no, 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 you shouldn't be after the banksters. You should be after the politicians. No, 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 the banksters own the politicians, so we're going for them. And so in watching that and being a part of that movement, I was one of the, originators of Occupy Sarasota in my own little town. And, we got hundreds of people to come out and hold signs and whatever. And it was like, okay, so this is going to be a big waste of time, because in New York City, they're just going to make them look like, why don't you guys get a job? Why don't you guys, you dirty hippies who are camped out in the park, why don't you go home? And then mace and spray and all that stuff started happening. I'm not into that kind of, being in an First Amendment zone so that I can have my conversation about what I believe is going on. So this time in this movement, based on experience, I can see that we need to ask ourselves every time somebody says, oh, I think it's about this, or I think it's about that. I think it's about the Zionist Jews, or I think it's about the New World Order, or I think it's about 9/11 truth, or, no, here's what it's about. It's about one thing. It's about freeing our flat earth, period. Until we have the capacity to be able to freely explore our planet, our plain T, until we have the freedom to be able to go see if there's more, to go see, what we live on, and stop letting groups like NASA and the FedGovCo, which is all of those alphabet soup groups, the alphabets I call them, and basically the technocrats, the people who society has started to believe for a very long time, that because they have the letters PhD behind their name, that they're somehow smarter than you are, or that they somehow deserve the right to tell you what's happening or what's going on or what you should believe. Nothing is further from the truth. That's what got us in this mess. And it's our own personal and individual and collective responsibility to continue to experiment forever, to continue to look around and see what's wrong, what's right, continue to fight the Hegelian dialectic, which is the classic movement that they've done about almost everything, which is create a problem, wait for the reaction, and then create a solution. Ta-da! We have a solution for you all. The problem is we already knew all of this was going to happen exactly the way it happened, because we were the ones who created the problem. We were the ones who knew what the solution or the reaction would be, because we've watched the reaction on every other thing that we've done. And ta-da! We created the solution for you ahead of time so that we could just move you from over here to over here, okay? I, for one, am not going to let that happen to the Flat Earth movement. I'm not going to let the Hegelian dialectic decide what the solution is going to be. I'm not going to let the Hegelian dialectic decide that, oh, well, these guys are going to come for us with this Flat Earth thing, and so we need to be the ones to disclose it first. We need to be the ones to spin it the way we need to spin it. And the solution is, oh, well, by the way, the Earth is flat. We've been holding this back from you for a very long time because these aliens have been holding us captive for 500 years. And to keep chaos, panic, and disorder from ruining our happy society, we had to come up with this creative solution, and that was the ball and the spin and the traveling through the universe and everything else. So now we're going to have to go ahead and tell you that, yes, in fact, the Earth is flat, and the aliens are on the other side of the ice. And that's why we're protecting you all, to keep you from going over there so that you don't get eaten by aliens, okay? And then all of a sudden, we're like, ooh, man, glad you guys were there for us. I don't know what we would have done if we all got eaten by aliens. And so, good job, guys. And the problem is there's that treaty again. You know, we don't get to get rid of that treaty that protects the Antarctic exploration, or the proper mapping of our world. And so this movement is as yet undefined, but the end goal has to be that humans get to decide what we're doing with our own planet. And if there's more, then we need to discover more. If there's not more, then we need to go, okay, guys, there's not more. So we need to kind of change our method of operation here. And instead of being wage slaves and living under rulers and not rules, end of rant.
All right.
Nice.
So, Mark, back to you for a minute. In your research, can you kind of give me an idea of what clicked with you and what got you started looking into this and probably making it a full-time job at this point?
It was around, I think it was like last September, something like that. I come across Eric's book, and I've sort of had a few chats with Eric over the years. And I said, "You're crazy." I had a look at his book, and I'm like, well, I'm going to debunk this. And then I went on to some other source information, and it's kind of fun. I thought I'll debunk this in a week, because I've been researching for like 10 years, and I sometimes find something crazy and I debunk it in an hour, throw it in the bin. So I'm open to pretty much most information. And then a week passed, another week, and I sort of got stuck on the moon and Polaris and a couple of other bits. And then it all clicked in like October. And I started writing some articles, and they started to get thousands and thousands of readers, and things ramped up.
You said you've been talking to Eric for years, but not on Flat Earth, right?
No, we just had the odd email over the years, you know.
But when was the first time that he brought this topic to you? Was it last year?
Yeah, last year, probably September sometime.
Okay.
And I've also had some, I've done a few 50-day meditations in silence in the past, and I had some sort of dream puzzles that have been going on for years. That I couldn't really solve these dream puzzles, and I realized in like October, November, it was to do with Flat Earth. So there's a bit of a mystical stream for me as well.
How about you, Ashley? When did you get started?
I got started in January, and I was actually searching for the word Eretz for land, earth, and when I went on, after I searched in like the meaning of the word in Hebrew, then I started getting on Google, and I actually found Mark Knight's blog, Wakey Wakey. He was the first one I ever found. It was the Earth Ball hoax, and I just kind of laughed. And I was sitting in my den, where I'm sitting right now. I was sitting in this room right now, and I just started laughing. And the more I read, because it's a very comical blog the way he has it, the more I read, the more I thought, wow. And I knew about the moon hoax already, and I knew just from having my own children that things in their school books isn't exactly how it is. You know, history's written by the victor. So I already have experienced the indoctrination of schools and what that is on children, and I see what they push and what they don't necessarily disclose at all. And so I could see that curving and steering of the children within the school systems. And so when I was reading Mark's blog, I really just had to approach it with an open mind and was like, what if this is true? And then I just started going, and of course I had all the same questions everyone else had. Well, what's on the other side? Well, where's the edge? What's all that? Those are not silly questions. Those are questions that everyone has. So don't feel, crazy that you're asking a silly question, and ask it. Ask away. We've all had all those questions. So.
Cool. Antonio, how'd you get started looking at flat Earth? More serious.
I was looking into Antarctica. I was looking for New Berlin. I was studying what had happened to the Nazi fleet. They had a similar. The Templars did the same thing when they did that October the 13th, the Friday the 13th thing, and they went and crucified or burned whoever at the stake, some of the main guys, but the majority of the fleet disappeared, and basically those became all the pirates of the Caribbean and all the pirate ships. So in World War II, when the Allies came in and started to beat down Germany, their fleet took off too, disappeared, boom. So I started looking into that, and I was following that they went into Argentina. They had bases there, and supposedly they had bases in Antarctica. And as I'm looking for this information, I come across Eric Dubé's page, The Atlantean Conspiracy, and I'm like, wow, everything here. Not just Nazism, but everything, Zionist, every conspiracy that I've never been a conspiracy theorist. I've just got into this a short while ago, and this was in March. This was like the beginning of March, mid-March, when I came across Dubé's site. And within his site, he has Matt's video, and that's the first video that I seen, the comedy one where he's on stage and he's like, "How the hell would you know? The perspective. These are all painting pictures," and I was like, he's got a point. So as he's talking about
photo or painting, right?
Photo or painting. So I'm like, I get on Google and I start looking at all these images, and I'm like, wow, they are all the same. They're all cartoons. They're all just, like he said, the clouds ain't morphing. They're just all the same in this exact same picture. And what? This is from the 60s or whatever, and we're in 2015, and we supposedly, at this time, as I'm researching, I believe in everything. I believe in NASA. I believe in science. I believe that the stars and planets are what they were supposed to be. And it was just a mind-blowing. But I already had gone through the paranoid fear stage 2 years prior with the food, so it really wasn't that. It was a shocker, but it wasn't like the first time. And so I started researching and start looking into stuff and online, and that's when Mark Sargent came on board too. And I started seeing like his first videos. He had like 1 or 2 videos, and then the following week he came out with back to back videos, and I'm like, holy smokes, this dude's on fire. And I liked all, like, pretty much his the majority of his stuff, because he breaks it down pretty good. But then you can tell once you start putting in your own spin on it or whatever, and whatever, that's his opinion. And I started going into other stuff, and by the end of April, I joined Daryl's group, and then I started joining the other groups, and that's where I kind of started reading posts and kind of narrowing down for myself, to get my head wrapped around what the plane is looking like, and learning about electromagnetism, learning that gravity is a farce. Just learning all the properties and how it works, basically how the system is formed and how the plane is made, and learning that it's very similar to the free energy model. Learning that we are electrical beings, and we also resonate electromagnetism, and we also have the same aura that the plane has, and it's incredible. It's incredible. And like Mark said, I mean, we're learning these things, but nothing's concrete. You know, nothing's concrete. We might be wrong, and somebody else might come along, and hey, if there's somebody that has something to add to it that can make it more concrete, so be it. So be it. And that's how I got involved. I mean, it's an amazing journey. We're still going through it, and I just want to be able to spread it. Whoever's interested in it, I give them more info. But I've learned not to push it too much, because even here in with my circle of friends, my very, very close friends, I probably have 2 or 3 that have questioned it. But I haven't had any loss of friends because of that. But I guess it's just how we present ourselves and how we talk with people. And sometimes we can get too passionate, and we can rub people the wrong way. So we just got to watch our behavior.
Thanks, Antonio. Mark, if you were to give people 5 things to go and look into for themselves, 5 avenues of research, what would they be?
If they're on the fence, I sort of look at curvature. That's quite an easy one to grab. Curvature, horizon, Antarctica, NASA. Those 4 are really the big ones. And then the major simple ones are really, have you seen a video of the Earth spinning from space? Or have you seen an eclipse filmed from space? I mean, if they've been going there from the since the 1960s, surely they'd have some video footage of eclipses or of the Earth spinning. So these are the big keys. And curvature and horizon and Antarctica and NASA, very easy to research, very, very, very palatable. Whereas the things like the stars and the moon, it gets a bit tougher.
I would add Copernicus. Copernicus himself, you know, he said it was going to work. He said it's just a theory, it's a hypothesis. Anybody who goes into believing that astronomy is the real deal is a fool. Those were his own words, so you know, I take the man for. I think he knew what he was saying. He was a pawn, just like a bunch of other ones were.
Yeah. Hey, Laurie, I'm going to have to zoom out now just because of a few personal affairs, and I apologise. But thank you, everyone, and big respect.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your time with us, Mark, very much.
No problem at all. I'll make more time soon.
All right. Good day, mate.
Bye-bye.
Later, amigo.
One of the final things, and we're getting close to what I wanted to hold it to an hour for editing purposes for putting on YouTube, is I'm kind of a futurist. Yes, I've studied a lot of history, and yes, I understand that the history is written by the victor. And but I am a strong believer in the future will not be found in the past. Mm-hmm. So whatever has happened in the past with regards to wars, baggage of religions, your culture you grew up in, you know, there by the grace of God go I, that I could have been one of those starving children in Biafra that I grew up watching on TV. And so in thinking about the future and thinking about the future of Flat Earth and the movement, one of the things that I am strongly encouraging is that the media hasn't really done much yet with this phenomenon, and I call it a phenomenon because there literally are millions of people. I understand there's 7 billion people on the planet, but there are millions of people looking into Flat Earth, whether to poo-poo it, or to research it, or to get it out of their mind, or to decide once and for all, I believe in the Flat Earth. So, but it hasn't hit the mainstream media yet to the point where Jimmy Kimmel hasn't invited a flat earther on to question, you know, and make fun of. And other than, you know, Barack Obama saying things like, we don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society. And, you know, all jokes aside, we're pretty much close to reaching a saturation point with regards to the media picking up on this. So when they do, the reason why they haven't yet is the same reason why they didn't immediately when the Occupy movement started. They waited for at least 2 weeks from the time that those people started camping out in Zuccotti Park till the time that they started talking about it on the, Fox News programs. So, but it's coming, and it's coming sooner than you think. But one of the things that I have most fear of, and I'm not a fearful person, but I have discovered there's two different things. There's fear and there's danger. Fear is in your mind. Danger is real. We are in danger of having the media define our movement for us. Mm-hmm. We're in danger of having cult of personality leaders being on the news and being purported to be the leader of, the president of, the spokesperson for the Flat Earth movement. Now, I don't know about you, but I haven't been a part of any election yet for any leadership positions. So that hasn't happened. No one has been defined as the leader. And so in order for us to maintain as much control of the spin as possible, I, among a group of people, will be working to hope to define the movement. And am I going to be a spokesperson? Not on your life. They're not putting me up there for being a pincushion. I'm going to tell you that right now. And anybody who wants to be a spokesperson, if that's what you want to do, you go right ahead. But in my opinion, and it's a strong one, nobody gets to define the movement. No one person gets to define the movement. The media doesn't get to define it. If it comes out that we're some kind of global global anti-global terrorists, and or all we want to do is try to usurp the new world order, or we're just a bunch of crazy tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists, which I'm working on my tinfoil hat. I have a very creative mind. I'm an artist, and so I have a basic hat, but I'm trying to glamorize it now because I've never really been a glam queen. So if I have the opportunity to be a glam queen, I'm gonna make a bang up tinfoil hat, okay? But at the end of the day, people doing interviews on Blog Talk Radio, and people doing interviews on other alternative news websites, that's fine. I would never say you shouldn't do that. But your own personal views about all the other things happening in the world, okay, whether you're a Hitler revisionist, or whether you're anti-GMO person, or whether you want to be a mover and shaker for Greenpeace, whatever the case may be, those issues are your issues. Flat Earth is its own issue. It defines its own self. It does not have any ties to any other group, religion, belief,
the only way it's
conspiracy theory, any of those other things. The flat Earth is the Earth and the shape of it. That's all it is. Okay. It has no definition yet. We don't know what the moon is. We don't know where the edge is. We don't know if there's a dome over the top. We don't know any of that. And for anybody to say they do is their editorial opinion. And if you want to buy into that, that we are in an enclosed world, and that there's some steam pump machinery underneath the ground running the water systems and the clouds and whatever, fine. As far as I'm concerned, that's science fiction because there's no fact in it. Okay, so I think we have a responsibility to the movement to first do no harm. They call it the Hippocratic Oath, and that means if you want to try to cure something, you don't. If somebody's got a broken arm, you don't cut their arm off in order to cure it. Okay, so there is a personal and a generic responsibility to do your own research, to do no harm to the movement, to keep your personal opinions out of it, as far as saying you know for fact of this or that. Okay, if you have a fact, share it with us. If we all by consensus agree with your fact and can verify with empirical evidence or observation that you have discovered the truth, then bring it and share it among all the groups. Share it among, make some YouTube videos and post them everywhere, whatever it is. I encourage you to do that if you have that. But if it's just your opinion and your dream of what you think the world is, because we're not going to get anywhere if we define it too quickly, or if we come up with some ad hoc reverse engineered theory of what it is, the same method they used on us to begin with to create this spinning ball, then you are being irresponsible. And I stand by that. So, Ashley, do you have some last words to wrap up?
Let's see. I would just say keep focused, and all the distractions and all the noise that doesn't pertain to the flat earth, that is exactly what it is a distraction. And let's just stay focused, stay strong, stay together as a big classroom, and let's find out what our flat earth is. If it's getting in two boats and one person going east and one person going west and meeting around the loop and seeing how long it takes, let's do that. But let's have let's leave all the distractions and all the gossip and the hearsay and all that stuff. That's just litter. It's just litter that takes away from of research and researching together. So I just say let's stay focused on flat earth.
Antonio.
I just would say that just to keep on going, and this is the real earth movement, whether it's, I don't think it's a sphere or whether it's a flat, it's the earth. It's the earth movement, and we got to take it forward, and we all live on this plane together, and I think that we're living some very interesting times. We're going to be seeing something happen this year. I know it. I feel it in my bones. We're growing by the minute. This thing's just flooding and flooding. Everybody's getting infected. I mean, I got people in South America. I got people in Europe. I'm talking to people all over the world. So, yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting. Just keep doing your own research. Ask questions. Be well behaved. I'm not saying take shit from anybody, but you don't have to give it out. And that's about it.
In closing, I want to say that we're going to be doing this every week. We're going to invite some different people to come on and share their thoughts, their research, their support for the movement. We're not looking for personalities. We're looking for real people just like us who have discovered that the earth is not a spinning ball, and they want to try to figure out what it is, and they want to try to figure out how to control it themselves again, and how to expose what they're finding out to the rest of the world, to all the other people. And if it is indeed flat, and it's a plane, and it's which it's strongly looking like that, and if it's something that needs to be explored, which I think we can all agree that that needs to happen, then it's time to take back control of the definition of where we live. And so anyway, I have something that I saw this morning while I was scanning through my news feed on Facebook, and I really like this. There is no nobility in being superior to your fellow man. True nobility is being superior to your former self. And so I'm not the same person I was before I discovered that I've been lied to my entire life. And everybody else said where they got, where they got started or hooked into the flat earth, but I haven't said so. What happened to me was I was that girl in the back of the room in grade school who saw those solar system balls flying around up in the air, attached by thumbtacks to the ceiling, and being explained to that we're spinning 1,000 miles an hour, and we're flying through space, and there's millions and millions of other planets out there and stars, and we're kind of insignificant, and we came from mud puppies in the water and evolved into apes and evolved into mankind, and so on and so forth. Well, I'm taking all this in, and I never bought it. I was one of those, teacher, well, if we evolved from monkeys, then how come there's still monkeys? Teacher, if we're flying through space going 1,000 miles an hour, how come my hair's not blowing or anything? And every time, turn to chapter 7 in your book, and you will see what you're supposed to believe. And you be quiet because you're being disruptive. So that led me to an entire lifetime of being a critical thinker. And a critical thinker is nothing more than someone who questions everything. And I question everything. And I've been involved in the truth-seeking movement for 8 years solid. I was earlier in my life, but 8 years ago, I decided to become a conspiracy theorist debunker. And I became someone who decided that if I hear a conspiracy theory, I want to define it, and I want to know if it's crap or if it's something that we should have an answer to the question. And so in my conspiracy theory debunking, the moon hoax came up, and I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but I was watching when they landed on the moon. So I was like, how come, how come, like, it's grainy, I mean, if they can send a message back, I mean, I can tell you the questions were amazing, okay, from me. So when I saw the moon landing hoax hit the conspiracy theory thing, I decided then that I was going to define whether NASA was crap or not. And I defined NASA as being a psyop, a big, expensive reality show about supporting the spinning ball theory. And for this generation and every generation to come. So that led me to running across people who said the earth was flat. And every time it happened, I'm like, dude, really? No, nah, not going there. I had a hard time with chemtrails. And so now I believe in chemtrails. So when the flat earth came back again, I'm like, that chemtrail thing didn't go away. So this flat earth thing isn't going away. So I'm going to have to start doing some investigation. And lo and behold, I ran across every flat earth guru that there is, and did everything I could to go, what's wrong with this guy? What's wrong with this guy? And at the end of the day, when I put it all together, the earth's flat. It's just really that simple. So I'm going to define for myself what the earth is one of these days, and I'm going to keep researching it, and I encourage you to do the same thing. Where do you fit in it? Why did they lie to us? What do they have to gain from it? What will happen if it gets exposed? What will the world be like then? Who will be in charge? That's what everybody wants to always know. How will we live if no one's in charge? And so, so next week we'll be back with another version of Free Our Flat Earth, and that's my own little catchphrase I like to use. And thank Mark Knight, thank you Ashley Webster, and thank you Antonio Diaz for joining me. I'm Lori Frary, and we appreciate that you took the time to listen to what's going on with the Flat Earth. See you next time.
Later,
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.